So I'm out here on a hike and I was just thinking about something that I say to my clients all the time, and I'm wondering how this lands for you. So I say that you should be able to be totally comfortable and feel good and have things really work for you, just being your whole, real, unique self. Does that feel like, yeah, that's how it is? That's exactly how I feel. Or is it like, yeah, right, Sarah, like that's how it's going to be, please? Yeah, so if it's that second one, I'd love to hear specifically kind of what the pushback in your head is about that. I've heard lots of things like I'm not good enough, or people aren't going to like me, or things just don't work out for me well anyway. So just letting go and just being myself, that sounds like a horrible idea. Yeah, so I totally get that feeling. And but I wanted to tell you about one of my clients who this really changed for and what that looked like. I've seen this change in lots of ways, but here's one. So she was a really successful professional. She'd been in her career for years and she really knew her stuff. She'd been like a senior executive, that level of professional. And yet she said, it feels like it's getting harder. Despite everything I've learned over the years, it just feels like everything's getting harder. I feel more anxious going into meetings, delivering meetings or presentations, meeting with clients, and I don't understand. It should be getting easier, not harder. And I said, well, I understand why. It's because of this stuff called learned distress. Learned distress is the feeling that we absorb really early in life, that there's something wrong with us being just the way that we are. And as we're absorbing learned distress, which is really the way that we store complex trauma or childhood trauma, as we're absorbing that, our brain is developing a survival mechanism to allow us to manage life with that learned distress. And what happens is that learned distress rises in intensity over time. It just keeps getting more intense. And so as it does, we have to keep working harder and harder at our survival mechanism to, get through life. And so that's really what she was experiencing, was the rising intensity of this stored trauma called learned distress. And that's what was making it harder for her. And so she even said something like that she felt like she needed extra time now in between like meetings or presentations or whatever, not to prepare like her notes or whatever, but just to prepare like herself. I get this picture in my head as she was talking of like doing costume changes, like preparing herself to be different in each of these settings. So really what we're talking about here is like imposter syndrome, right? This feeling I can't possibly be okay just being myself. I'm going to have to make myself into something so that people won't see the real me and they'll accept what I'm delivering to them. What was amazing was when she came back and she'd unlearned layers of this learned distress, and it really had changed. And what she said had changed was she didn't need all that time in between meetings so much anymore. She said she had one day where things were way too closely stacked and she was really worried about it. And then she realized she wasn't feeling anxious. She was feeling good. She was feeling easy about it. And everything worked out great. She just walked into these meetings just being herself. And it felt great. And she said, wow, this is great. I haven't felt like this really in forever. And really what had happened was she'd peeled off some learned distress. And so that's just one of the ways this can look for people. And I wonder what it might look like for you. And I'm wondering what the pushback in your head is. If you want to comment and share what kind of your brain said about like, no way can I be my whole real unique self. That's not going to work. I'd love to hear that in the comments, or if you have any questions about what I've said here. Yeah, so please leave a comment if you feel comfortable. And thanks for taking a listen here. And I hope you have a great day. Take care. Bye-bye.